Hello, welcome to Wild Sun Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne, and I am very excited this morning. I've been away. I've been lost on a deserted island. This was kind of the brainchild, it was totally the brainchild of Nik the Booksmith, who said, what if we were all lost on a deserted island and we only had a couple of art supplies and our job was to make an art journal? What would you do? So I was lost on an island for a while and I made an art journal. This is what I had with me. I had paper. I had a ream of Staples cream colored 20% bond. It's this paper. And it's really smooth. I didn't expect that. It feels really good in my hands. I had a pair of scissors. I had some glue. I'd been hearing so much about Fabri-Tac, and I did a glue test to see which glues would work and which wouldn't. So on the cruise, I had taken Fabri-Tac to kind of test it out for a while. And wowzers, did I get to test it out for a while. So the other thing that's a given was needle and thread, and I had bought this button and craft. It's just a little heavier thread, button and craft thread. And then my choices were, I was having trouble with breakfast on the cruise, so I had gotten a box of gluten-free cereal, and I ended up using that for the cover of my book. And I had the brown paper grocery bag that I had bought the cereal in, so I decided to turn the bag inside out and use that for the cover. And I had a black flare pen. And I thought that I had put in my magic fanny pack some craft wire, some green wire. And my idea was I wanted to try making my own paper clips, you know, see what that would be like, maybe different shapes. I've seen paper clips in stars, and I thought that might be fun. But when I opened my fanny pack, I had my awl, which seemed a little redundant, as I also had my needle. But it ended up being very nice to not have to, you know, to have the support of the handle to punch my signatures. So that was nice. And I meant to try out something with this pin pricking paper, you know, to do a design. You can do a little circle and little leaves or... Yeah, I never got around to that because I was so busy with everything else. But it could have worked. I was thinking I could like poke the paper in the sand, you know, smooth out the sand, and it would be a really great, well, I thought it would. But anyway, I never did that. So are you ready to see this gorgeous book that I made? So I'm going to show you the back first because I'm so freaking proud of the back. So, yeah, I think you can see this. It's woven. While I was making the journal, I was kind of freaking out about being on an island alone by myself. And sometimes doing kind of fussy little work like this. And these little strips of paper wanted to go all over the place. And it was actually harder than I remember paper weaving to be. But I finally got it all together and gave it a border. So that's the back. And there's the binding. So I have a confession to make. I went overboard. So I went overboard on the ship, but I also went overboard on making this journal. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I just started and I couldn't stop. There should be a button for people who craft, and you press the button and it says, and then somebody calls you and you say, help, I'm in my art studio and I can't stop. I should eat, I should sleep, I should have relationships with other humans. Yeah, so that's kind of what being on the island was for me. Full-time art and not a lot else. So the island that I was on had lots and lots of flowers. And it was really fun figuring out how to make flowers for my journal. So, do you need to see closer? So, lots of fringe. And as I used the journal, of course, everything got kind of curled up. I thought about gluing everything down, and then I thought, Mother Nature doesn't glue everything down. So this is my ginormous book. The orange here is to help me remember now that I am home what I want to tell you. It was not a part of the journal that got made on the island. Are you ready? Da-da-da. I wonder if I can move the camera a little further away. That's not really working. I'm just going to have to be careful that we are in camera range. So I called my island Iceland. Iceland. Not Iceland, like near Greenland. Yeah, now that I say it out loud, it doesn't work, but I wasn't talking all that much to myself, so I didn't hear it out loud. So these are little envelopes. I will introduce you to the dollies in a little bit. It got clear to me that I needed some company. I was pretty alone. And I thought, well, hey, I'm an artist. I make stuff up for a living. So then there were some spare bits, little interesting pieces and some other tidbits that I haven't used yet. And amazingly, there are a few empty pages in this journal. What I love very much is texture. You can tell by the cover alone, yeah? And there's something about shadow that helps make the definition, although I did a lot of outlining of shapes, because this is very similar paper when that's all you have. I did not bring a coloring agent like colored papers or a colored pen or ink or watercolor. Yeah, so this is it, sort of black and white, black and cream. Yeah. So as I lived on the island, you can see here, I've got tabs for sort of sections of what I went through. The first section was about time, that I was being given time, and I didn't know why. I didn't know there was something I needed to work out, but apparently there was. So I just thought it's about time, me having time with myself. So, and then I thought about, it's about action. It's about get off your butt and do some things. And that's true about me. And then I got really sad and lonely and was actually kind of freaking out. And I realized it's about honoring, you see that? Honoring my feelings, even when they're sad and crunchy feelings, that I still get to honor them. And I love roses. Oh, my soul, oh, my soul, oh, my soul. This hurts so much. It just hurt a lot to be that alone. So, yeah, just to honor my feelings. I'm a human being, and feelings is what we do, and I get to honor the feelings even though they're sad and uncomfortable. And then the next thing was love, which is kind of like honoring a bit. To love myself, of course, first, because I was the one I was with. And then to send my love out in the world. So I did a bunch of thinking about that. And then I didn't always know what to do, and so I have this practice of putting the question out to the universe and listening, keeping my heart and soul and mind and ears open so that I can hear or see or perceive the answers. So I did that, and one of the answers I got was forgiveness, to forgive myself for some of the less effective or even downright, bitchy things that I have done in my life, and then forgive the people who have probably felt as hopeless and helpless as I have at various times in my life and have done god-awful things to me, and it hurt. And yet, if I am a child of the universe, then they are too. And they were doing the best they could with what they had. And I'm sorry for their pain. Somebody said this cool thing about forgiveness, which is beginning to make forgiveness make sense to me. It's not like you say, oh, it's okay that you like dug the knife in and twisted. It is, metaphorically that was, it's about acknowledging the divinity in me and the divinity in the other person. Just go there. That's enough. And it's beginning to make sense. And then after that, when you let go of, the crust, there is light. So these are actually pockets that do not have cards in them yet. What you seek is you. Yes. And then there's being rescued and what comes next. So let's go back and talk art process now that we've talked all that philosophy stuff. So I made little books and little notes. You can see that there's like all these little crunchy notes here. I just had paper, and I would cut up little papers and put them in my pocket and write it first. Anyway, let me backstory this a bit. What happened? The last thing I remember is going to the art class aboard the ship with my stuff. And then the water. So freaking much water. I think I hit my head. Blank. And now I'm here. I woke up on this beach. I don't know if this is an island or part of the mainland. I can't remember how far out to sea we were. What day was that? Well, what day is this? I think I got here yesterday. I can't really remember, but I think I woke up when it was dark. But now it's sunny again. Oh no, where is everybody? Where am I? So, I slept a lot when I first got to the island. It's possible I had a concussion. And, yeah, we can get rid of these, I think, as we go. Day 3, I think, or maybe 4. I've eaten some fruit. There's water. There's a sail I'm using as a sleeping bag. I wonder if somebody was here before. I feel cared for. But where am I? Will I be rescued? I keep chatting up the trees and the wind. And I was missing my kids, my daughter and my son. Tell my children that I love them. Watch over them and take care of them. Yeah, I guess I was sort of floating in and out of that dark place. What if I don't make it? What's going on? What's going on? I get cold. I found a piece of sail. It's my blanket. I don't understand. I'm tired. My head hurts. I have a lump on my head. Help me. As I began to recover a little bit, my head was feeling better. I actually sewed a little mini book, and then I discovered way up in the trees there is a tree house on this island, and I was thrilled. I was thrilled that, yes, I was being taken care of. I felt not alone. And so I asked, tell me what I need to know. I worked on this journal a bit. This page will go into it. I'm feeling kind of happy. I know this work. I know how to entertain myself here. I think I'll make some dollies to keep me company and keep my spirits up. Losing hope would be bad. I have to survive, to figure out what in tarnation this is all about. Why did I need this? What did I do? Anyway, up in the treehouse, there was this desk, and there were some books in a little bookshelf. And I also found, unbelievably, there was an axe with a whetstone, and there was a pot. I love drinking tea, and I was missing warm water in my body. So I found a pot, and I was at least able to make tea, and sometimes I put a little lemon. I found some lemons. So I live in a garden, make some garden pages in this book. Oh, I want to tell you about how I made this book. And I kept thinking, all in good time, my dear. Like somebody was telling me that. So there's some pages where, yes, the darkness. So this is a good page to delight in the flowers that I saw. I'm going to make some videos about how I actually made some of the things in this art journal. So check down below and you'll see, I can't remember what I'm going to call them, Wild Sun on Nik's Deserted Island, flowers and pockets and envelopes and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, these papers, what I did when I bound the book, is I actually bound these little short papers. Can you see that there are little short pieces? So I cut a piece of paper here. We can use this. I think in quarters, and then I folded those little bits in half, and that's what I bound, just these little short pieces. And then on the little short piece that went, I glued a paper on each side. So this paper, because you don't see a seam, is glued, well, on that side. And then this, can you see that little, yes, you can see the shadow there. So I just glued a piece of paper right along the bottom edge into these little short pages. And that let me use the entire, this is the United States, so the entire 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, which was great. And it let me have a big book with lots of space to make a garden. So that was fun. And more flowers. And yes, I found that I had to draw on the flowers in order to make them show in the book against the white paper. What are you going to do? So, I'll tell you where this patterned paper comes from. That was fun. And now I get to introduce to you a dolly. This is a pocket, and Maisie lives here when she is not in her stand. Let me see if I can get her. So, please meet Maisie. She is a partially articulated doll. I made her a basket to hold abundance because first was survival, and the essence of Maisie, maize from corn, the name for corn. Yeah, her essence was about helping me survive. So this is her stand. Can you see? It's just, I glued a couple of pieces of paper together and cut out a strip and glued it together right there. And then I cut a slit right at the bottom of her dress and cut a slit in the, there, can you see that? Yes. And put them together, and that helps her stand up, which is really nice. We would go for a walk and I could sit her up in the sand and we would have talks. So this is Maisie, and she was the first one to come and help me out. I also gave her a little stand in the back because the dollies are kind of tall and a little heavy for their stands. Anyway, this is where Maisie, these were my drawings of plans for her, for all the dolls. And this is where she lives when she is not upright. And we're still in view here. So, I don't need that. So this is a fan fold paper cut, which I realize I haven't put on video. So I will teach that. Check below. And one of the things that came to me as I was listening to the universe was to imagine myself being rescued, that if I could put that in my mind, then the universe would kind of have a diagram for what to help me out with. So there's a woman who was in my life named Amy, and the thing that Amy gifted to me was that it's possible, like even crazy, like way out of, like no way, that can't happen. She taught me that it could happen, and I am forever grateful to Miss Amy. So thank you, Amy. More flowers, because I live in a garden. And more of this pattern paper. And blatant affirmations. They will find me. Yeah, totally. And this is my favorite. I worked through a whole lot of flower patterns. Can you see this? Do I need to bring it up to you? Can you see that these little strings, let's see if I can actually hold them, are knotted? Can you see that? Yeah. So I cut the paper pattern. There's these 4 leaves are pattern, and there are 3 of them. And then I sewed it together, and I thought, oh, I'll leave the little threads as if they're stamens or something. And then I knotted them to give the thread a little bit more weight and help it sit properly. And then this one here, I actually got a little piece of paper. I don't know how to do that for you here. We'll use Maisie's tag. Maybe this will work. So I crumpled it up. This is a long piece of paper. And I actually rolled it. And then I was able to kind of roll that. And that ended up being the center of this flower. So that was fun. Yeah, I need to find where the page where I made those, yes. So one of the most wonderful lessons I learned making this journal was that I love having these little tri-fold or quarter fold or double fold, whatever size they ended up being and however tall they ended up being. I love having these little folders with me with little places to write. And so there's a pocket and here's an envelope with some writing pages in there. It lets me stay, which is really fun. Oh, come on. It lets me stay private because my thoughts are all, and here is a book in there. What if we are more powerful than we were taught to believe? What if we had skills and senses and abilities way beyond our physical reality? I've been thinking a lot about this for a while. Yeah, so there it is in my thoughts. And here's another one of these multi-layered, sewed together, knotted stamen flowers that I love. Anyway, I love having my thoughts be in something little that I can carry around with me. That's fantastic. This is fun. It was sort of a tassel that I squished out. Yeah, I will show you how to make those in the little videos. So yeah, fun, totally fun. I love having that, and then having a pocket in a big journal where it all can be set sort of chronologically. Oh, this is a great thing that I did. When I put pockets like this against a page, you lose it visually a little bit. There's, if I don't draw a line around it, you don't really even hardly get right away that there's something there. So I was thinking, how can I do something to the paper to make it visually a little more prominent? And I figured out that I could wrinkle a piece of paper and then make a pocket out of it. And my eye, because of all the little shadows in the wrinkle, my eye can see that better. So that was fun. And here is just about everything is possible. Little envelope, heart, a book, more flowers. I don't believe there's anything on this. Yes, there isn't. I think that's multi-layered. Yes. Your dreams are magic. Your words are magic. Your giggles are magic. Your wow is magic. Love yourself and compassion to the people. I'm not done with this whole thought stream here. We have some pockets that aren't filled and blank spaces. Oh my goodness. In an art journal, there's a blank space? Can't be. Oh, and this was very fun. I bound each signature with its own thread. I didn't try to do that continuous thread. It sort of was a lot of math to figure that out. And then I wanted to put little charms on the ends of my strings. I left the ends of my strings. And I thought, well, that's kind of nice, like a tassel, but it would also be fun as a place to put charms because, heaven forbid something stay unornamented in an art journal. Wow. So I have taught you before how to do these frames, but I will teach you again in the videos down below. Ooh, and look what I did. Do you get this on the... I folded it, just made lots of little folds in the paper and was hoping that that would give this card a little bit of visual texture. And more cards. Hello, I love you. It is fun to be with you. It was really important to me to keep talking to myself, and in a kind and loving and playful way, because there was nobody else to talk that way to me. Where is this? I have to show this to you. So these are more yes, little weird journals and flowers and more journals to fill. I'm going to have fun with this. And now that I'm home, of course, I can use my colored pencils. This is a cool fold out. It's just all about these pockets that can hold a full sheet of paper in them. They're big enough. So that'll be fun to start. And that's what one of these trifolds looks like when I have not filled it up. And another one of these luscious flowers. And this is a fun way to put a closure. You cut a slit right where that is. And then if the paper is not folded, that will, yeah, it's not doing that now. So I did some paper cuts. You might have to get close to see that. See that? And the glue that I used, this lovely Fabri-Tac, doesn't give a person a lot of time to glue it and flip it over. I wish I had had, it sounds ridiculous to say that, but a water-based glue, which would indeed have wrinkled, you know, the back of the paper. And this has so much texture because I wrinkled this paper before I cut it. Yeah, a water-based glue gives you a little bit longer to flip something over and set it in. So this is the first of my scribble paper. How is this coming out on the... Yeah, you really see it, right? It looks like colored paper. So all I did was take a page and take my pen and scribble back and forth in different directions. And I ended up with sort of a dark colored paper. And then I would fold it up and cut it up into a paper cut, like I've been teaching you. And, oh, right, of course. And the thing is that, you know, I would cut these shapes and, well, there's a heart from one of the paper cuts, and there's this cool little winged something, and a little cross that must have come from the middle, and triangles. So yes, all these little dark things are the interior pieces from the paper cuts. And there's some bigger paper cuts later on, which is why some of those are sort of a different color. And yeah, this one still needs a lot of gluing and putting together. Lots of words. Oh, I went through this phase in my deserted island thing of making little newspapers for myself to read. That was interesting. We found greens, dolly making classes, island parade with all the dolls. Beach drawing class still going after all these years, days, months. So here are my lovely roses. And again, these were hard to make with Fabri-Tac because the thickness, the gumminess of the glue, these look great. When you wind them up, they're just a tight little knot. So you sort of let them release from making them into a spiral. And then you get some space between the lines. And then the shadows start working and it looks great. But the thickness and stick gumminess of Fabri-Tac, sort of as soon as I set it down into the glue, it was exactly where it was, and it wouldn't continue with Elmer's glue. Elmer's is nowhere near as strong, but that's a good thing because it would let the rose continue to expand out a little bit. So there we are. Anyway, it was really fun to make a page of roses, but it was also frustrating with the Fabri-Tac, so this is sort of my only page with those roses. Little paper cut, and in this one I did a fan fold. I need to teach you about that, rather than a concentric fold for the paper cut. And more flowers and some shapes, and then here I had a boat, because I needed to imagine that a boat would come. Here, this is how you do it. Sailing, sailing over the ocean blue. So yeah, I had to imagine that over the ocean blue, and my words were that I was sort of putting into my imagination and out into the cosmos was come here. I figured once somebody got here, it needed to be, the words, the instruction needed to be really short and really clear and really brief. I'm being redundant. So it's just come here, not come here and rescue me, or because that would be obvious once they got here, right? So, yeah. And more pockets with cards. And this is time to introduce you to Clara. Clara's job with me was to help me see. So this is Clara, and this is her telescope. I just realized, check this out. It's a collapsing telescope. Because this is what I do with my life. Yeah. So she too is articulated and has a lovely stand with a little back support. And these lovely strips of paper, I need to show this to you because it's way cool. Actually, now is not the time. I will show you in one of the videos below how to make these somewhat thicker little strips of paper. They're very cool. So Clara's job is to help me when I was asking for help. What do I do now? How do I stand being alone like this? Am I gonna just die like this? Her job was to help me listen clearly and see clearly and get it that I'm here for a reason. So the wind is blowing her skirt, and she is here to help me listen and see. And this is her pocket where she lives when she's not in her stand. And some of these pages are clipped together because they either aren't worked on or things were getting a little dark and we didn't need to share that. So here's another paper cut. How's that showing up? Pretty cool, huh? Man, oh man. This is one of the things I heard. This is a thing to learn and rise to the challenge. But never mind this sort of, I don't know, it sounds like somebody yelling at you. But just to stay open. I'm here to learn something. I'm not here to be punished. I'm not here because somebody's mad at me or, you know, the universe is total foo-foo. I'm here to learn something special, and this time alone is a gift, not a punishment. So here's another one of these triple folds, and the fold itself was so heavy that a single tuck spot wasn't holding it, so I had to do a double tuck spot. There you go. And I started coming up with some more books and classes and things that I can teach and do when I get home. Oh, I am the queen of my mind. I've been thinking about this. Like I can choose to think anything I want to think. For example, I can be on a deserted island and alone and lonely and cold and tired and wet and all those above things. And what I can put in my mind is the flowers and my journal and the fact that I have a desk to work at. So I can choose which things I put in my mind, and I have total power to do that. I don't have to, like, I don't know, ask for permission. That's my job, and I can do whatever I want. So I'm the queen. It's mine. I can choose what I think. If I stub my toe or drop something, I can choose to see it as a call to breathe. If someone around me is doing something cranky, I can decide to send them best wishes, period. I've done this. It's hilarious. It totally works. I was once walking on the track at the Y, and sometimes when people pass me, I walk a little slowly, and when people pass me, they'll cut me off a little bit. And there was this one human who was doing that, and my first reaction was, not surprisingly, to be angry. And then I thought, yeah, but I'm the queen of my mind, and I get to choose what I put in my brain, and being angry is not necessarily particularly helpful feeling. I mean, it is when it is, but when we're talking people walking on a track at a YMCA, we don't need to waste our time being angry. So I thought, oh, well, what do I do? Oh, and this great scientist and philosopher, Greg Braden, taught me about blessing other people. So very quietly, all to myself, I just said, may this person have many blessings. May they be wealthy and healthy and have lots of love in their life. And when I did that, he ended up leaving the track. This is why this is hilarious. He just, like, he was only walking on the track for a little bit, and then he would go off to the place where they have all the machines where you push against, the workout machines. So it was his time to do that. So he left the track and he went off to work on weight machines. I was like, okay, so my needs got met because he stopped doing that to me. And his needs were obviously being met because he got to go play on his weight machines. So awesome for him and awesome for me. And I think that happened because I blessed him. I mean, who knows? You can't prove a thing like that. I can notice my imperfections and yet also acknowledge the spark of the divine universal within me. I am trying to succeed. And I can practice that which makes me happy. I can do my thing, which is art. Which is why being on a deserted island is not entirely a bad thing. Because I've had a lot of time here to play and play hard, overboard or not. So here's some more of this fan action. And I have to tell you that trying to fold a really long fan like this is actually pretty hard. So that was tough. And I only did that once in the whole journal. Can you see there's a little paper cut right there and some more flowers and a heart. I am here. Ta-da! X marks my spot wherever I am. Oops, you can't see that. X marks my spot wherever I am. I am here. I am. I am magic. And here is a paper cut that had little banners of love. And more paper cut. Oh, I can't wait to teach this to you because this is really pretty, right? Yeah. And more little cutouts from the paper cuts. And more cutouts and more pockets. And here I did a little banner thing. A garland, pennant garland. Come here. And here are some of the trifolds that I worked a little more on. See, if I trace the pockets, then you kind of can see that there are pockets. So here's one that wasn't filled with thoughts. And by the way, do you see this lovely crushed flower? So this is also wrinkled paper, and then I cut the flower out. So that was fun. Pockets. But this was great. I made this a little shorter. And so it's a trifold. And then each one of these is a pocket with lots and lots of information. And then behind the cards also, can she get her fingers in? Yep, are more cards. It's a little tight. And some of the cards have, you know, little tabs. I think there's writing on, yeah, on that side. And again, with the telling myself beautiful things, lovely things. You are beautiful, you are interesting, you are clever, imaginative. Artist folk flock to me. Well, I hope that you are having fun now that you are here. I hope this is being completely enjoyable. More charms on strings in the middle of the signature. Another paper cut. I keep having to glue these down. Another, see, this is the really dark one. I had more ink in the pen back then. More and more. This is yeah, we kind of just kept going there, didn't we? A little kind of a vine. Oh, I worked with a vine later on in the book. That'll be fun to show you. And I should probably, you know, toddle along here. More folding things, pockets. Yeah, I think Nik asked us, ooh, these are angel wings. Can you see this? I was not alone on the island. You see these lovely wings. Yes, so somebody was with me. They were angels, or they were dolls, or they were, who knows. I was not alone. So this is where Meteor stands. Where are you, my dear? Meteor's energy was about getting stuff done, and he's wearing a ball cap because, I don't know, he's a guy, he does that. Tools, and here's the axe. Actually, it's not the axe I had, it's the axe I made for him because he liked that. Yeah. So, yeah, he's a wonderful guy, and he helped me just get down and focus on the physical world and get stuff done when stuff needed to get fixed or whatever. And this is where Meteor stays when he is not in his stand. And I just tagged this because I wanted you to see what one of these fold-outs looks like when I don't outline anything. It's not a lot of shadow work. Actually, this page right here, you can see that, but yeah, it all looks a little pale until you get all the writing and stuff in there. Another one of these frames and more pockets. Ooh, this is the vine I wanted you to see. So this is made out of double or triple thick paper, pages glued together, and then I cut all of these leaves. Isn't that fun? Worked out really well. Took a long time. And my scissors are big. Ta-da! So cutting these little tiny things, yeah. If I was home, it would have been fun to have little scissors, but I may do. These scissors are sharp enough, and so at one point, long before I met somebody else on the island, these words came to me. I really like them. And I like this little tuck band thing right there. This is another fanfold paper cut, another round circular, what do I call them, concentric paper cut, a goddess pocket. Have you ever used one of these? They are awesome. So this is in this section for forgiveness. And so you make a pocket and you put into it anything that the divine needs to deal with you because it's too incredibly big and you can't hang on to it. So some of the forgiveness work that I've had to do is sort of on the big side. And so what you do is you put their name in there and say, I forgive you. You are a divine child of the universe. May you have many blessings. And give it to the goddess and let her figure it out. Another trifold. This one again is pretty well worked. Especially everything. What was I talking about? Everything is... I don't know what I was saying. Somebody said that I'm too fabulous for numbers, like, being a 10, like Bo Derek. I'm too fabulous for numbers. Right on, right on. Let's all be too fabulous for numbers. More frames, appreciate, which is like gratitude, only in some ways even cooler. Another all white, all cream. Look at that flower. Isn't that sweet? It's a really long thing. I'm so sorry. This is where Rattan lives. Rattan. That's Sunne too. Oh, here's Rattan. And this is so cool. What came to me about Rattan, what he does for me, with me, is he listens to the stars. It's who he is. He knows how to do that. And yeah, like super big picture. Sometimes when you're right down in the sand grains, it's a little hard to understand stuff, life, the universe. But if you listen to the stars, it means we kind of back away from the intensity of the sand grains. And yeah, we can get information from a different perspective. So Rattan helps me with that. And doesn't he have the coolest hair? Totes awesome. So there is Mr. Rattan. And this is the pocket where he lives when he is not standing up. And more with the trifolds. Yay! Just say something really cool. We have learned stuff. We all have gifts. Yeah. I find sometimes when I'm listening to sort of, new agey, let's change our lives stuff, that people get kind of angry and shamey, like, oh my God, humans are so stupid. And, we do these things that are not very helpful. But, one of the things we're taught when we're little kids in school is to not daydream, and not trust our imaginations. And now all these groovy New Age people, and I'm one of them, so we are indeed groovy, you know, are saying, well, we should daydream. But when you're 7 years old and your teacher's yelling at you to not daydream, like, what 7-year-old is going to say, yeah, I think I'll daydream anyway, and I don't care what this adult is saying? That's not a helpful way to go live on planet Earth. So we did what we were taught, and we learned things in ways that were helpful as children, and now we have new things to learn. So that's sort of a better take on that, I think, because it's not shaming and it's not saying you're such an idiot, you did it wrong, which goes on in my head already, and I don't need it from somebody else. So yeah. So here was another thing that I tried to give more contrast to my paper cuts. I tried scribbling, and I was sort of hoping I would catch the top of the paper cut and not the paper underneath, and that didn't work at all. So I ended up tracing all of the cuts, and that worked a little better. And some more foldy-outy things. And this is a part of my logo, Wild Sunne. So I was playing with that, and more flowers. And who lives here? Sunne lives here. This is Sunne, and he dances. This is his job with me. He just dances. Look at his wicked cool hair. That awesome hair. So he's a really physical guy and expresses himself in gross motor movement, and that's not something that I think of as an option for myself every day. I mean, I do, but under duress. And he loves dancing, and so he would pull me up, and he still does, and say, oh yeah, let's dance for a little while. And we'd figure out drums and anything else we needed, ribbons and bells and I don't know, whatever we need, so that we would get up and dance. So Sunne is a very special friend. He does that with me, and I get to do that with him. And here's some more charms, and some of these don't have charms. Gasp, we should do something about that. And then I thought about being rescued, and I thought, who will rescue me? I have a nephew and in the Air Force, and my dad was actually in the Army, because back then there was no Air Force, but the Army had an Air Corps. So Daddy was in the Army, and my nephew is in the Air Force. I think I have another nephew. I know I have another nephew, but I think he was in the Marines. But then I thought, I'm in the middle of the ocean, so maybe somebody from the Navy or the Coast Guard would come, or something like that. And I was just trying to think, and all I was like imagining that, yes, there are other humans on the planet, and I will not be alone forever, and yeah. So I started thinking about what I had learned when the boat came. I started saying goodbye to the island, which was, I love the trees and the wind and the ocean that rocked me. I've been rocked by the ocean. Oh man, what a feeling. And I left some gifts. I had an unending bottle of glue. That was amazing. I had endlessly sharp scissors. I had endless paper. This book is huge, right? Let's see, I had thread forever. I had as much thread as I needed and wanted. That was really cool. And the next step, they came just like that. They ended up being a little off course, unexpectedly, of course. The man kept saying he was leaning left as he steered his boat. Actually, physically bent his head and shoulders left, east, towards me. Come here. He kept sort of Well, he didn't really say he heard those words, but that's what I always said, you know, all day long on the beach. Come here. Come to me. And, all right. So anyway, they went off course and called the Coast Guard to adjust their equipment because it hadn't been functioning right. And when they called the Coast Guard said that they told them to come and fetch me as the plane that flew over yesterday did see me. And they told the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard told this boat that was off course, and the boat that was off course was very close to me and came and got me. So all is well, because just like that guy said once, you be you. Time for that now. And there was place for one more dolly, but just the 5 came to me. So my dubbies, this is probably a ridiculously long video. Yeah, here we go. There is art everywhere you look, and life is good. Many blessings to you. May you be well. May you always have a sense of not being quite all that alone. Thanks for listening. Bye.